So most people know that at the last meeting, we had a presentation and discussion on the multi-hub, the proposed multi-hub system. And so we want to continue that tonight. And you'll see if we can go to the next slide, Julie. Our agenda will be, we're going to do the overview of the July 2020 presentation, show what kind of stakeholder outreach has been done, talk about the transfer analysis, and then talk about benefits and a schedule. So we can go to the next slide. Most of this people have already seen, but let's review just so we know where everybody, so everyone knows where we are. Proposal is 3 multi-hub in downtown Providence. One is the Innovation District Bus Hub. There would be 8 bus berths on the National Grid site located on Dyer Street. That would include the renovation of the existing historical structure to be used for RIPTA amenities, indoor waiting room, bathrooms, bathroom facilities, and for the National Grid Innovation Hub and office space on their other floors. And that will be built in phases so that it won't all be done at once. And there's a lot of construction that will be taking place on the National Grid site. The next hub would be the Kennedy Plaza Bus Hub. We've already shown that there will be 6 bus berths with stops on Dorrance and Exchange. Washington Street is cars only eastbound, buses only westbound. So a little change to the traffic pattern there. Traffic improvements in the surrounding area to accommodate the change in the traffic patterns, and a real coordinated effort with the City of Providence on their RFP to better utilize the space that is there in Kennedy Plaza. Next slide, Julie. Thank you. Providence Station Bus Hub. You'll see that there are 8 bus hub berths with stops on Exchange and Railroad. We'll have new and improved bus and rail passenger amenities in the renovated train station. Very exciting opportunity to reconnect the old rail and bus that used to be connected and hasn't been in more than 20 years. Okay, next slide, Julie. Let's talk about where we've been and what has happened. So we have done the multi-hub plan presented to stakeholders. We've received feedback. We've made adjustments thus far. We have presented the revised plan to the public and began stakeholder engagement. That included meetings with the Providence Chamber of Commerce, Rhode Island, I mean, it's the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, Rhode Island Foundation, the Providence Foundation, Grow Smart Rhode Island, the 195 Commission, the General Services Administration of the federal government, which included Judge Jack McConnell, Brown University, Johnson and Wales University, the Riders Alliance, the Jewelry District Neighborhood Association. We did a press briefing. We've met with Amtrak and have had one hearing before the Providence City Council and another one to happen tonight, I believe at 5:30. Continue to have a dialogue with National Grid about their scheduling and their proposal. Took comment at the last RIPTA board meeting and again today.
Scott?
Yes.
Can I just ask you a quick question? Just for our edification, when we're talking about presented this revised plan, this is not just RIPTA specifically. There was a collective that presented this, right? Or is this a pure RIPTA? What you're just describing is purely what RIPTA alone has done.
No. This is a coordinated plan that came from DOT, RIPTA, and the governor's office.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure. Yep.
Sorry, I should have said that at the very beginning.
Thank you.
And so there'll be another Providence City Council hearing tonight at 5:30, and then RIDOT and RIPTA presenting at this meeting and attending the Providence City Council meeting that's at 5:30. So if we can go to the next slide. So since the last presentation you saw, we have done some assessments of alternative sites, one after the last meeting that you were at, one before the last meeting that you were at. So the Garrahy Courthouse parking garage facility, there was 8 bus berths and amenities that would be available in the first level of that space. The first floor of the parking garage was created with a structural wall that would require renovation to the existing structure. The parking garage structure itself has a base slab, which accommodates passenger cars, but wouldn't accommodate the load of the buses. We would need additional property, most likely on Friendship Street. We would need on-street parking for additional berths and displacement of first floor parking spots in the garage that is being created for parking. And there were traffic safety concerns from having the buses and the cars using the same garage and co-mingling there, and traffic concerns on Friendship and Clifford Street. So after the last meeting, we revisited an idea that perhaps the Garrahy Courthouse parking garage could be a suitable alternative to the Innovation Hub. And that is where we ended up on that. There was also a mixed-use proposal at Dorrance and Clifford. The proposed mixed-use building had an estimated cost of over $60 million, and there was no viable funding source that was identified. The proposal was on property that was not owned by the people who were proposing the idea. The property owner was not very supportive and was really unwilling to participate in the construction. No private sector partner interest was identified in the proposal, and our commerce assessment of the market for uses identified in the proposal were not viable in the current economic climate. Next slide, Julie. So also since the last meeting, we've been doing our passenger trip transfer assessment, working with DOT and VHB. So you'll see that in 2018, RIPTA bus routes serving downtown served over 48,000 passengers per weekday. 40,000 of those did not transfer. For the 15 who did, you'll see that the proposal would be that 85% have a one-seat ride, 15% have a two-seat ride, and you would see that 1% of the passengers would have a three-seat ride. And we continue to work with VHB and DOT on all of the analysis that needs to be done there. Next slide, Julie.
I'm sorry, that one, can we go back to that one for a second?
Sure.
Because based on the discussions, or based on the public comments that we heard last week, it would seem to me that this particular slide was what most people had issue with. So what is this saying? This is saying today 85% of people would have a one-seat ride. As currently proposed, 85% of the people would have a one-seat ride?
That's correct. The issue, so Josh, the issue would be that right now with three-seat ride, you have 0%.
Okay.
So we do have there is a slight issue there, but as you can see, DOT was very clear with RIPTA that when they engaged someone to figure out how to lay everything out, that their goal was to get the three-seat rides down and the transfer problem down to almost zero, and it's down to 1% at this point. That's huge progress from where things stood earlier in the year.
Great, thank you.
Not a problem. Julie, do you want to go to the next slide? So you'll see there's a lot of words here. We're just going to give you obviously we think that there's a lot of benefits. Bring employers closer to the jobs while eliminating crowding that was experienced by having one hub. We learned from COVID-19 regarding high concentrations of people. And so this actually furthers what we have learned, what DOT and RIPTA has learned through all of this, how to better disperse people so that there's smaller groups. The system will link major existing and future employment and residential centers such as Wexford, the Garrahy Courthouse, Johnson & Wales, the Brown School of Professional Studies, Providence City Hall, the Convention Center, the federal courthouses, the financial district, Capitol Hill employees, commuters to Boston, Providence Place Mall, and area restaurants. And it lays the groundwork for transit-oriented development opportunities within the Innovation District, creates the thing that the city was really looking for, was unity and an opportunity to reimagine the Central Park system and recreate Kennedy Plaza, Burnside Park, and Biltmore Park into a centerpiece for pedestrian activity in the City of Providence. To open up pedestrian linkages to the Riverwalks to the east side and to the Newport Bristol Ferry. The hubs will be designed to provide amenities including restrooms, indoor waiting areas with real-time boards, benches, ticket vending machines, bike racks, bike and scooter share centers at the Innovation District and at the train station district. And it's a direct bus to rail link for commuters linking downtown employment centers. And we also have learned as we work through the electrification issues that it's not really feasible to provide the necessary charging infrastructure in one location. So the multi-hub also gives us the opportunity to do smaller charging centers that we can actually move forward on much quicker. Julie, if you would go to the next slide. So you'll see that the schedule has changed a little bit as we have taken more time to do research and to have more stakeholder meetings. So the schedule that exists at the moment is July to October would be to complete the stakeholder outreach. July to December would be to finalize site details with National Grid. October would be to issue the SOW, or the scope of work for design services. October to do the Title VI analysis. November to do the design, to begin the design service. Winter and spring will be public meetings for Title VI and the general law requirements. There are a number of general laws that require any change to the service that RIPTA operates to have public hearings throughout the state, so we would have all of those as well. Spring would be design services completed and construction contract awarded. Summer of next year would be construction start in the Innovation District. Fall of next year would be construction start at Kennedy Plaza. Spring of 2022 would be construction start at Providence Station. And in summer of 2023, it shows that all the construction will be completed at all three sites. Next slide, Julie. Thank you. So our immediate next steps are finalize operations planning on the minor bus shifts and rerouting. As we have met repeatedly, we've moved different routes to different locations to figure out the best way of flow of traffic and to not have buses making, as we've tried to minimize the number of left turns that buses are making at all costs. To initiate the Title VI analysis, to conduct public hearings on bus route alterations, that again is in accordance with the state general laws that we need to do that. Continue coordination with the city and its consultant on the Kennedy Plaza redesign as part of the unified vision for downtown public spaces, and then issue the scope of work to begin engineering design.
Thank you, Scott. If board members have any questions or comments regarding the presentation?
Yes, I have a question, Noam. Sure. Scott, it's okay.
Sure.
In these multi-hub stations, is there a specific office or accommodation for security personnel, such as the police, as part of the design, Scott?
So we do currently, Senator, have a police substation that exists in the Kennedy Plaza building that will still be utilized. At the train station, there is Amtrak police. And so we would make accommodation for security also at the new Innovation Hub. As you know, for your years in law enforcement, that is a major consideration whenever you're looking at a bus hub, is making sure that there's safety and security officers there.
Very true, Scott. Thank you.
Any other board members have questions or comments?
A question about the schedule, Scott. So the overall construction schedule, if I remember what you just went through correctly, is about 2.5 years. Is that about right?
Yes, it would be completed by summer of 2023.
And thank you, Julie, for going back to the slide. The first construction start would be the innovation district hub.
Correct.
Is the expectation that the construction will continue throughout from summer 2021 to summer 2023 at that site, or do you expect them to be completed in phases as well?
It will be phases, but it will be 2023 before everything is done.
Right.
Will it be operational prior to that, though?
Yes, there will be an interim hub that we will use in the time period while the full hub is being constructed.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments by?
I have a sort of, I don't know if it's a comment or a question, but to me, first of all, this was great. Thank you. Especially all the public comment last week. It was incredibly helpful to see this laid out sort of in one fell swoop. You know, as I think about the sort of this notion that we've got these three hubs and, you know, really trying to create this sense of intermodal, you know, connecting the train station with the innovation district and through downtown, and recognizing, you know, how we want to attempt to create more parks and everything downtown. I think generally it's really exciting. And so thank you for all the work that's gone into it. One question I would have, it's also my gut that if taking the new fare box technology and coupling that with the fact that we're going to have a little bit more of what I call like a distributed hub, like three hubs, won't that also give us more flexibility going forward to better understand passenger flow and the like, and actually in the long run have a better chance of actually serving passengers better because we have more flexibility and more visibility into the sort of data that fare box is providing? Is that an okay way to think about it? Okay.
Also, Josh, the other thing that is exciting is the connection to the DTC stops that already exist to have less than 5 minute frequency is really a big boon to the system and a big bonus for us.
Josh,
Cool.
this is Peter Alviti, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You know, you can tell you come from the systems world, because distributed networks and distributed systems is pretty much the direction that everything is flowing. Has been for the last 30 years, right?
Yeah.
But even more so now, I think you're absolutely right. With the increases that we're seeing in technology, with the kinds of interconnections that we're going to make into electric vehicles and eventually distributed system control, potentially one day of autonomous vehicles even, that a distributed network not only makes it easier to provide the necessary facilities and infrastructure that we need for all of this to work together safely, but also it creates an environment that's much easier to make improvements, long-range improvements to, and to measure those improvements accurately. So I think you're right. The systems aspect of this is certainly a benefit.
Okay, I'm glad, Scott, you mentioned the downtown transit connector. I think a key piece to all of this is going to be a commitment by RIPTA to continue the downtown transit connector, because that's what pulls all these things together and makes, to the extent somebody does have to transfer, makes it a lot easier and quicker for them to transfer. So I think it's going to be critical that we keep that program in place. After the last meeting, my biggest concern, based on the comments, was the transfer issue, and very pleased to see the slide that was put up on that. And I think a lot of progress is made on that issue. And I thank everybody really for all the hard work that's gone into this up to this point. Do any other board members have additional?
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman, if I
sure.
may. One more question, Scott, with regard to the city council members here in the city of Providence. Are you dealing with a subcommittee or a full council, and does the subcommittee have a majority of approval? And have we respected any of their comments, or do they have many comments that were taken into consideration for the multi-hub?
There was, so yes, there was a hearing before the council that was continued to tonight, and we will continue to monitor that as well. So the next, they had one meeting, they've continued it to this evening, and we will have someone there, as well as DOT will have someone there to answer questions and to make sure that there's stakeholder outreach to them as well.